Okay, so let us begin the lecture with the recitations. Please join your palms. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni. Verses of opening of the Dharma. The unsurpassable, profound, and wondrous Dharma is difficult to encounter even in hundreds of millions of kalpas. Now I see it, hear it, receive and uphold it. I vow to understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. Welcome everyone to the third lecture of the Path to Buddhahood. And today is the English explanation. Okay, so in our last lecture, we already covered seeking refuge in worldly things, worldly matters, whether it's wealth, fame, status, loved ones, relationships, or even nation, progress of society, and so forth. We have determined through our analysis that they are not really viable objects of refuge that can provide blessing and protection, or security and protection. And now we are moving on to the seeking refuge in transcendent matters. Now here, transcendent does not mean that is like in a sense of the noble state. No, transcendent just means that it's not the worldly material matters, other worldly, okay? To put it in a more layman terms. And so here, stanza 3. Ghosts and spirits are addicted to cruel killing. The devas of desire are obsessed with all kinds of pleasures. The one Brahma resides in arrogance and pride. None of them is the object of refuge. Okay, so this is the verse in bold, and then let's go into the explanation. Even knowing how to seek refuge, we can be deceived by erroneous non-Buddhist sects. Okay, so deceived. This deception, we're not saying that it's like deliberate, that people really want to deceive you. No, they can actually, other beliefs, they can truly like uphold and then believe in that and then think that that is best for humanity. But if you analyze, observe, and just kind of look in deeper, that you notice that maybe many are not proper place of refuge that can provide a security and protection, in the long run. In short run, it's just like a Band-Aid. Band-Aid can work a short term for anything, but long term, that's what we're dealing with. We're trying to seek what is the true object of refuge for the long term. It is not just about depending blindly on the object of refuge, but also having it as a model and reference. Okay, here, so this is very interesting. Depending blindly. So if, let's say there is a proposal saying that that's, someone is promoting a certain object, certain entity as the possible refuge. And then depending blindly means not thinking through, not reflecting, not observing, not putting to test what you observe, what you understand, and then try to make sense, whether it's knowledge or having it as a model and reference, meaning whoever's promoting that particular belief as an object of refuge, or that subject, that entity, can they really living according to what they say? Can they provide like model and reference for us? Or we just have to believe and depend on them blindly? At least from the Buddhist perspective, blind dependence on anything, it's actually counterintuitive to the Buddha Dharma. The Buddha always told us, don't believe in what I say. Don't believe in whatever my disciples say. Listen, reflect, put it to test, experience it, and judge for yourself. If that's for you, this is for you, right? So blind belief without any reflection, observations, analysis, it's actually not very Buddhist. And then this, by saying that, you will notice this is one of the biggest difference of Buddhism and many religions, major religions. For as long as we do not have the state of mind of self-awakening, we can be easily influenced and contaminated. Okay, so here, what is self-awakening? The mind, the state of mind of self-awakening, meaning that we already have the right view. We understand impermanence. We totally get that existence is suffering. It's imperfect. We understand, or at least have a notion of what no self or non-self is, right? We don't observe things or decide things coming from this egotistic self, egocentric self. So not having self-awakening, that state of mind as a basis, human beings were easily influenced and contaminated. We just, how often I hear people say, oh, you know what? That could be true because so many people go there. Oh, it's a whole stadium of people chanting, listening to it, and then like dancing to the tune of the orator. So are they trying to say, is that proposal mean that when there's more people, it's truer? It's not possible for the mass to be deceived into certain erroneous views? Think about it. All human tragedies in large scales happen like that. It's all about inciting hate, inciting conflict between this group and other group, that they gain power. And lots of people love it. They go into it. They get really mesmerized and they become fanatics. And it's always in large numbers. So we, as ordinary people with ordinary minds, not with so-called right view established, we are very easily influenced and contaminated by people's thoughts. So when you are like practicing or trying to understand the Buddha Dharma, you will notice that whatever people say, you will say, wait a second, I don't know if I can agree with that. Let me think about it. Don't just say, yeah, this is good, that is good. Everything is Buddha Dharma, everything that people say. And then like nowadays with TikTok and Instagram and all these things, the Buddha said, oh my goodness, how many times I've read something about what the Buddha said, but I cannot find it in any text, right? People invent things and not even mention deep fake. Okay. Therefore, one needs to be very cautious. There are various religious objects of refuge. Now I will briefly explain 3 categories of them, and from their defects, clarify why they are not the correct place of refuge. Okay, so here, once we get into these 3 categories, we have to talk about these 3 different realms, right? That is, we will be touching on, right? So let's go to the Buddhist cosmology, the simple version, right? So here, this is the human realm. Just remember, this is very important, the human realm, okay? This is the core of existence and of consciousness. This is the realm and the only realm, the ideal realm for spiritual practice, and then the only realm to attain Buddhahood, perfect enlightenment, perfect awakening. So above, and then when I say above, because we are dealing with a 2D graph, think of it as 3D, okay? Asura's realm. Asuras are celestial beings with celestial realm merits, yet they are very, very angry beings. They are angry and vengeful. And then we move into the desire sphere, then we have the desire celestial realms. And then human realm, it's actually also in the desire realm, but it's terrestrial realm. And then beyond that, there's the form sphere and the formless sphere, right? And then look at these. There are 6 heavens in the desire sphere, 18 heavens in the form sphere, and formless sphere, there are 4 heavens. And then according to most major religions, there's only 1 heaven. But this is not the same cosmology as we Buddhists believe in. We believe in 28 heavens beyond that of human realm. And then also, this is called the good destiny, right? And then what are the destinies? Bad destinies, realm of hungry ghost, animal realm, and infernal realms, 18 levels. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. I will provide this to you. You don't need to draw right now during the lecture, right? So we'll come back to this as I read the text. So ghosts and spirits. So which realm are we talking about? So here is primarily talking about hungry ghost realm. According to the Chinese tradition and many, many different cultures, the Celtic culture, the Irish, the Turkish, and in different places, cultures in the world, there are celestial spirits, earthly spirits, and human ghosts. Human ghosts, meaning those who have just died. Humans with merits after death can become spirits. These can be spirits of various kinds, of the wind, rain, mountain, water, earth, and 5 grains. Grain meaning rice, wheat, like grains that we consume. Grain spirits. Okay. Spirits of the mountains and monsters of the forest, wicked spirits and monsters. In the book of the I Ching, the book of change, it is said that the spirits that take form are the elves, or the wandering ghosts are lonely spirits who, after dying, have no one to make offerings to them, and they're just wandering around. So when we talk about this first type of so-called out-of-worldly entities of refuge, ghosts and spirits. And then this is trying to talk about what is being said out there in different cultures. Now, according to the Buddhist sutras, ghosts are the hungry ghost. They are in the hungry ghost realm. And the spirits, they're governed by the 4 great heavenly kings of the 4 direction, right? And which is referring to the here. Heaven of the 4 kings in the 4 direction. The first heaven in the desire sphere. And then they govern over yakshas, right? Are mainly yakshas, rakshasas, nagas, dragons, mahoragas, python spirits, garudas, golden winged birds, etc. There is also the robust king of ghosts and animals with superior abilities. Additionally, according to Christian tradition, there are also demons, great dragons, and serpents, spirits and angels with wings, etc. This is talking about according to Buddhism, it's referring to the hungry ghost. So what about them, right? So all these ghosts and spirits have certain merits and some supernatural powers, okay? So what are merits? Meaning when they were human practitioners, they may have done something good and then provided some benefit to humans and animals in human form. At the same time, they have also committed some negative karma that will lead them into hungry ghost realm. And then because having merits, they don't have a what is called carnal body, flesh and blood. No, they are more transformation bodies, right? Then they, with some merits and also supernatural power, being able to see beyond, a week, a month into the future or something like that, like supernatural powers, right? Some of them are good, okay, and are subordinate to the deities of the higher heavens, which I pointed out the four kings, right? Under certain circumstances, they can indeed help humans in one way or another. And thus, they're often venerated by humans who supplicate for blessing and banishment of evil or to avoid being harmed. Okay, so here, I was born in Taiwan, and in island cultures, oh my goodness, the amount of ghosts and spirits that people venerate is incredible. Like, it's too many. And then what are they? Do they really exist? I'm telling you, they do. Because these are beings, hungry ghosts with merits and also some supernatural powers. And then human beings, mediums that establish relationship with them, who ask them for things, right? And there's always an exchange. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Okay, please tell me about me, about this person, about that person. Help me out, right? And then if you help me out, I will make offerings to you, right? So how do we know these are so good or bad? Basically, there's one particular way of knowing is that, and then I'll just give you a little anecdote. I know people who actually go and then go to a certain shrine or altar, and then they're praying towards some ghost and spirits. And then they make offerings, assume that they would like something vegetarian. And then that same night, they will have a dream with the deity, or not, sorry, deity, the spirits telling them, hey, there's no blood, there's no meat, there's no nothing like truly for them that's attractive, right? What kind of offerings is this, right? So basically, even in different cultures, for example, candomblé in it's an Afro-Christian, it's a mixture of things. And then like in Brazil, they have to make sacrifices to sacrifice for the spirits and ghosts. And they have to bring in live animals and cut their throat and then drain the blood in front. And then just to show their act of offering. And I don't know why so many people are so obsessed, even going to Peru, where the Incas, right? They have all these pyramids, right? And then what they find there, the archaeologists, is lots of skulls, and then skulls of children, lots of children, and then girl and boys. Why? They were sacrificed for, they call them gods. But according to this definition, they cannot be gods, because gods will not be asking human beings to make sacrifices of live animals or humans. In fact, that would be pertaining to the needs of ghosts and spirits. So some are good. You ask them things, they tell you things, but let's keep reading, and then you know. However, ghosts and spirits are full of afflictions. Remember, ghosts and spirits are not so-called noble beings. They're still in the state with a lot of afflictions. Their character, personality at times is not as good as that of humans, right? Especially because their nature is wrathful, vengeful. They are addicted to cruel killing because, and then by cruel killing, I just remember something about the Vikings. Vikings, before they go out and then have wars, what did they do? They pray to their war gods. So what are war gods? Are they really gods? Gods, by Buddhist definition, are devas, are celestial beings. So sacrificing animals, sacrificing people to war gods, they're not gods. They are actually ghosts and spirits, right? And then they want their help, their so-called, them to be on their side, right? So that they can go out there and kill the other tribe and the other group. What they want humans to offer is the sacrifice of blood and flesh. Sometimes they even demand human sacrifices, right? If humans do not make offerings respectfully or offend them, they retaliate with cruel killing through violent winds, storm, hail, plagues, and others means of bringing down havoc to human beings, right? So even nowadays, and then not to mention in the old days, the indigenous people, they pray to the wind, all these things, like spirits. And then to have wars, they want to be supported by certain powers, entities. But these are all ghosts and spirits. And then the relatively harmless ones will be the spirits that live in trees. Remember, tree itself, it's not conscious. But ghosts and spirits, they can dwell in trees, especially trees that have lots of life, lots of years. They have amassed a lot of good, positive energy, right? Vitality in that tree. Tree itself has no consciousness, but the spirits and ghosts may. Okay. So I remember when I go to Kyoto or old temples in Japan, and then there will be stories about how when they were making the road, opening the road and then trying to opening up a road to a temple or to somewhere, and then they come across this tree, very old tree, and they just want to cut it, and that they can't seem to turn the engine on or whatever, and then that same night will be the tree spirits coming to the dream of the operators and say, do not hurt this tree. Please go around. And then I've seen plaques explaining why that road is not actually a bit curved to the side instead of like a really straight. So those are the relatively good ones. However, the bad ones, oh my goodness, these spirits are equivalent to the mafia and evil forces of the human realm. And when you are in difficult times, they may help you by providing physical protection or great financial assistance. They can even give you hints on lottery. So imagine you go to the mafia and then the gangsters, and you go, they really need money. And they go, yeah, oh yeah, money we've got, we can lend it to you. But it's always at what cost? Very high interest. Or if you don't pay up, it could be your finger or your arm or your whatever, something. So when you enter into a contract with these evil ghosts and spirits, then you are in for a big lesson. However, you cannot offend them in any way. You have to obey. And then this, I remember and this actually happened to a monastic that I know. She was told that the way to practice and then get a lot of power is by practicing and praying to certain deities. But in fact, it's not deity, it's more ghost and spirit. You know why? Because she was told in order to pray to this particular entity, she needs to close all the curtains and then day and night, and then recite certain mantras, and then asking for blessing. This person can be enlightened, be awakened. Well, anyways, did it work or not at the beginning? Sure. At the beginning, was feeling, wow, very, with a lot of energy and stuff like that. And then everything went downhill afterwards because this person started to hear, oh, you have to go do this for me, find out this for me, do this and do that for me. And she refused, then she would not be allowed to sleep. There'll be voices in her head throughout the whole night. So things like that. And then so indeed, invoking these spirits was easy or is easy, but dismissing it is difficult. And with much effort, it was possible in order to send it away. Possible to send it away. Basically, it's easy to invite them because if they want a connection with, the ghosts and spirits with the human realm, they'll go through people who are like open to this, but not understanding the consequences. They almost sign a contract. And then if we can use the term, sign a contract with the devil, sign a contract with the spirit and ghost. So as the saying goes, it is like inviting a wolf into the house or attracting a ghost indoors. The worshippers of ghosts and spirits, by offending them, often end up ruining their families and sacrificing their members. So is this trouble really worth it? And I hope you get the idea. No, it's not worth it. When you are asking for something, and then even nowadays in Thailand, in Burma, there are still these so-called very, very dark practices going on. For example, the wife find out the husband is having an affair, and then so will go and then pay somebody to do something, the evil eye on the woman that he's having an affair, or the number three, the one having an affair with the husband want to kick the wife or the husband out, and then will put something like the evil eye. It's still going on. So can that be true refuge that brings security and protection? I think not. So you need to think very carefully. We're talking about taking refuge here. But what is the purpose of taking refuge? Think very carefully. At least from the Buddhist perspective, it is to wake up, to become enlightened, to liberate from suffering. That is the main goal, to stop suffering, to lessen our suffering, and then to look for light, go towards light, towards awakening, right? So that we can help ourselves and others. So if that is the objective, is there a need to take refuge in the spirits and ghosts and ask them for things, mundane things, and then ask them for things in this world, whether it's fame, whether it's rich in wealth? I don't think so. It is no wonder that Confucius was a great man for humanity, for his teaching to, he says, respect the ghosts and spirits, but keep away from them, is indeed a wise stance. Okay, so are there good ghosts and spirits? Yes, Master Yinshun mentioned before. And by the way, 2,500 years back with the Buddha, many ghosts and spirits, they took refuge in the Buddha Dharma. And then after taking refuge, if they have enough merits, they're already reborn as human and continue their practice. But those who are still in the spirit and ghost form, they are actively trying to protect practitioners that have taken the triple gem, taken refuge in the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So they will be protecting us. They will be helping us avoid things, avoid obstacles. Do we have to ask for them? No, we don't. We just stay to our practice, then for sure they will deem us worthy of being protected. Because by protecting us, what do they earn? Merits. They accumulate merits through practitioners. That is a relationship, true relationship, right? And in that, I will cover more when we go into the true object of refuge, like the triple gem. I don't think anybody can argue with me, when people take refuge in so-called ghosts and spirits, and even in order to connect with the ghosts and spirits, what do they have to do? They have to induce substances, ayahuasca, shamanism, all these things. It's basically using substance so that your mind is no longer mindful of your body. You separate from your body, and then you open up to whatever thing that come to your consciousness. It's very, very dangerous. No one would argue that that's dangerous. Then how about the second type, devas of desire? Okay, so by the devas of desire, we are referring to this: heavens of 4 kings, Trasrimshas, the heaven of 33, Yama, Tushita, Nirmanarati, and Parinirmita Vashabarting. Now, here in this is where Mara lives. Mara, king of Mara, lives in this realm. It is the 6th heaven before entering into the form sphere. And there's a reason why it's located in that particular spot in the universe. Okay, so devas of desire. Desire refers to the 5 material desires: the subtlety of form, craving, grasping of form, sound, odor, taste, touch, and one human act that encompasses all 5 is sexual desire. It's form, sound, odor, taste, touch, all at the same time. That is human sexual desire. Now, the devas, do they have sexual desire? Yes, they do. Okay, because they're still in the desire sphere, so they have sexual desire. But how do they have? What kind of desire? And how do they act it out? Human beings require the act itself, a physical act. But for them, for these beings, it could be a look, a sound, a smell. That's enough to induce so-called sexual pleasure. They are much, much more subtle than in the human realm. Deva means luminous, light, and generally refers to celestial beings. And Deva, the word Deva, if you read it as Greek or even English, is or Portuguese, is Deus. Deus means God, translated. So the so-called the Buddhist notion of God or gods is referring to celestial beings. That's all. So in this case, we're discussing the devas, the celestial beings of the desire sphere. There are 3 spheres. What are the 3? Desire sphere, form sphere, and form sphere. Okay, and then I will keep repeating this so that you know the Buddhist cosmology. Desire sphere includes all this up to here. Desire sphere. Form sphere, formless sphere, right? And if you want to see like in proportion to how many realms they have, then we have to look at this one. So you see, this is the desire sphere. All this, if we go from the so-called evil destinies or bad destinies, hell being, animal, hungry ghosts, asuras, and then good destinies will be human beings, and then the 6 heavens of the desire sphere. And then beyond this, in the form sphere, then you have all these 18 heavens, and then formless sphere, there are 4. Among the 3 spheres of existence, in the sphere of desire, there are 6 heavens. At the lowest are the 4 great heavenly kings of the 4 directions, who govern the 8 categories of ghosts and spirits. Above them are the 5 heavens, Trasrimshas, 33 heavens. And someone asked me, why is 33? Is that like a home address of the heaven? Well, not really. It's Trasrimsha means chakra. The king is in the middle, and then they're in the 4 directions, north, south, east, west, each heaven with 8. So 4 times 8, 32, plus chakra is 33 heavens. And then Yama, Tushita, Nirmanarati, And then Parinirmita Vashavartin, this is where Mara, the king of Mara, resides. Okay, and this figure will come up later on when we have discussions of the practice, temptation, and all these things. These three heavens share a greed for matter, and matter means material things like possessions and sexual desire, and therefore are called the heavens of desire. There are 6 of them, right? So among the devas of desire, the one who has the closest relationship with humans is Shakra Devanan Indra. You can call it Shakra, or in Hinduism, they call it Indra, king of the Trayastimshas heaven, the sovereign Shakra. He defends peace, esteems morality, and desires the progress of humanity. This particular celestial king, right, in the desire sphere, has contact with human beings through the mediums. Okay, to govern the celestial realms, this Shakra, he occasionally initiates wars. But sovereign Shakra, the king, the sovereign, the king Shakra, also forgives his enemies, emphasizing the idea of not killing, ahimsa. He became the great ruler of the realm of many, many celestial beings, devas. And through ghosts and spirits, he governs the human realm. Okay, the Devis, celestial maidens, surround him, similar to the Jade Emperor described in the Chinese mythology. In Chinese, would be Yu Huang Da Di. You know, that's basically the equivalent of chakra. So compared to the ghosts and spirits, the devas of desires are obviously of a higher level, higher consciousness, right? But the problem is that they are obsessed with all kinds of pleasures. In the enjoyment of these material and sensual desires, it is inevitable that they become arrogant, wasteful, lustful, and indulgent, immersed in a life of decadence, and their spiritual life of wisdom and morality ends up regressing, meaning because of so much celestial merit, they are not able to advance spiritually. It's almost like they get to a certain point and then they obtain a celestial rebirth, and then their spirituality either stuck or just goes down, regress. So in the past, Shakra invited the Buddha to teach the Dharma, but soon after returning to the heavens, he completely forgot what the Buddha had said, because desire, the Buddha said, desire is the root of suffering, right? All these devas who enjoy material desires and easily degrade themselves, if they cannot ensure their own survival, also need to seek refuge, meaning these celestial realms, they know they are not done yet with their practice. They are not awakened yet. That's why they seek help from perfectly enlightened one like the Buddha. The Buddha, when he went to the Trayastrimsha heaven, according in the Kisthigarva Sutra, he gave lecture to the mother Maya and also the Shakra king, right? But the thing is, you know how it is, right? If everything is so dandy in life, you have a good house, a shelter, food, job, family, good relationship, health, everything. You think you're going to live forever? Then what's left? No, just enjoy the pleasures. The thought of awakening to seek spirituality will be very, very low on that list of priority. So that's the celestial beings. They need refuge themselves. Shakra himself took refuge in the Buddha and the Triple Gem. So moving on, the one Brahma, the one, the only, the solitary Brahma. Okay, and in Brahma, it's located right here. This is the form sphere, in the first jhana state, frequency of the form sphere, then you have the great Brahma, ministers of Brahma, and subject of Brahma. Basically, all this here, up to humans, even some asuras, they and hungry ghosts, they still have so-called social interactions. They have societies, they have hierarchies. Beyond that, in deeper states of meditation, they are solitary worlds, solitary environments where they are in meditative states. So right now, we're talking about kind of the heaven that still have some kind of contact with human being throughout human history. And then here, there's really no way to escape this. I need to talk about it. So when I was 11 years old, I went to a Catholic school, and I was, one of the classes is Bible studies. So I had to learn about the Old Testament and then the New Testament. And in the Old Testament, what I found out, and all the stories we had to memorize because we had to get tests and I had to get good marks. So I memorized all these things and I'd go, but the stories I did not find, for me personally, I was not motivated because it's a lot of blood and there's a lot of conflict and it's a lot of suffering. And also a lot of entity says, if you don't follow, I will punish you. It's all about punishment. And then for me, I don't know, it just did not invoke a lot of security nor protection. It's more like fear. And I did not like those stories with the central figures. But then when I started reading, because I was in a Catholic school, elementary school, and then reading about the New Testament, I noticed that the God that Jesus Christ was describing is different. It's more like universal love, tending to the poor, and then charity. It just feels so much more loving and loving and kind and compassionate. And then after many years as a monk, and I come to realize that, oh, wow. In fact, the Old Testament was talking to a figure more like Chakra, the desire sphere figure, king. And then in the New Testament is closer to the Brahma figure, right? And in fact, Jesus Christ, as a practitioner, the messenger, the Messiah, is the one who proposed what? Loving kindness, compassion, and rejoice, altruistic joy. But what I noticed, I can safely say that you will see very little teaching about equanimity, because equanimity is so difficult to practice in a context of altruism. Altruism at its highest is equanimity. It is the true lubricant that makes altruism sustainable, right? And that will be another lecture. So let's go into the one Brahma. Above the sphere of desire is a sphere of form. The sphere of form, or form sphere, is divided into 4 heavens, 4 jhanas, like 4 categories. And the first jhana is also divided into 3 heavens: the heaven of the assembly of Brahma, the ministers of Brahma, and the great Brahma, because there's a hierarchy there, right? And then Brahma means purity. Okay, so here we are going into what Brahma represents, right? This figure, and it's a true, real figure. It's a celestial king, means purity, which has a sense similar to sacred and immaculate. The devas of the assembly of Brahma are like the people. The devas or ministers of Brahma are like government officials. The devas of the great Brahma is the ruling king, right? Unique and unparalleled. Therefore, he's called the one Brahma. Brahma is very pure, does not have sexual desire, because in the form sphere, basically, literally, consciousness cannot have very so-called coarse sexual desires, like in the desire sphere, right? He does not have sexual desire, nor is he enamored with worldly material desires, the fame and all these things, and then the possessions, the rich, the wealth, the jewelries, and stuff like that. In terms of virtue, his spirit of benevolent love and compassion is very high. Loving kindness and compassion is very high. Among the deities of most religions, it can be said that he is the most outstanding, right? So that's why some religions, they talk about, and then you notice that human beings can really distinguish between a deity king in the desire realm sphere versus the form sphere. That's why it's all mixed up in those stories. And then in human beings, we have a great ability of syncretizing, oh, yeah, it's all relevant. It's all relevant. No, it's talking about two different figures, right? So according to the Buddhist text, what does the Buddhist text say about them? About this particular figure, Great Brahma. When the Great Brahma appeared, there were no subjects yet. That means that there were no living beings, consciousness in this universe yet. This particular universe, samsara, that we are in, or Saha world. The name of our world is called Saha world. There was no sphere of desire, habitable places like earth, planets, etc. The great Brahma wished, he was the first. Basically, he was first before the Big Bang. He appeared during the period of the destruction, so-called the end of a Big Bang, and before the beginning of a Big Bang, he appeared right in that in-between period. Okay, so the great Brahma wished for heaven and earth to exist. He was very lonely, and then he thought, I wish there was something that will form, and thus the sphere of desire gradually formed. Basically, the Big Bang, boom, happened, and things started forming. We're talking about he lived very long. He wished for humans to exist, and coincidentally, humans appeared. Because the mind of the great Brahma resides in arrogance and pride, it is inevitable that absurd views are induced, such as considering that heaven and earth was created by him, and that human beings emerged from him. Basically, he appeared right in between the destruction and the formation of a new world, right? And that's why he thought, it would be nice to have certain world. And then the Big Bang happened and it started happening, that forming. And then the formation, and then goes into establishment, and then from establishment into decadence. We are in the period of the decadence of our material world, and eventually it will return into destruction. Like it will be into voidness again. So the great Brahma, he thought, right? And then guess what happened? His existence is somewhat longer than other beings, 1.5 kalpas. And 1 kalpa, we're talking about billions and billions of years. Therefore, he proclaimed to his subject that he is eternal and immutable, without beginning or end. But he proclaimed that when? He proclaimed that according to the text, and not Buddhist text only. He proclaimed that before he met the Buddha. When he met the Buddha, and then he was the one who asked the Buddha to teach. Because when he witnessed the formation of our world, this universe, he thought, wow, I did this. And then the next time that he felt this tremor, this amazing power, was when the Buddha Shakyamuni reached perfect enlightenment. All the world, desire sphere, formless sphere, was shaken. Like it's like a unsurpassable tremor in the universe. And then Brahma knew one thing. Something happened. A great one appeared. And that's when, and then according to the Buddhist text, when the Buddha reached enlightenment, and then he said, he was thinking to himself, this is what I discovered. He discovered the dependent origination, and then the truth of existence, and then how to get out of this suffering. He go, but the human beings, I don't think they're gonna accept this. I don't think they can practice this. This is too difficult for them. This is too much against what they are used to. And he thought, no, I just won't teach. And then it was Brahma who came down from the Brahma heaven and then asked Buddha Shakyamuni 3 times, please teach this in this human realm, at least given a chance. Okay, so what about above the Brahma heavens? There are still 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhana heavens. And above these, there's still the sphere of formlessness. However, they have almost no contact with human beings. Only a small minority of people can believe and practice from the 2nd jhana forward. Meaning, if a human being, you cannot just be a medium and then connect with these beings. You need to be in the meditative states in order to connect with them, which cannot become the basis of a popular belief in society. Therefore, they are not mentioned. Meaning, throughout the human history, recorded history, let's say 10,000, 20,000 years, 10,000 actually. If there were any mythological stories or people who are able to connect with beings, usually it's not beyond 1st jhana and then 2nd jhana and so forth, not really, because not many people have these abilities. However, in ancient India, even before Buddha's time, there were already yogis, advanced yogis, who practiced those deep absorptions, jhanas, and even formless jhanas, even today, and they are able to get into those states. So that's what we're talking about, form and formless. This means up to this point, they may still have contact with the human realm, some mediums and people who have the practice. And then beyond this, 2nd jhana and beyond, all this, these are solitary worlds, not social, not societies. They have no contact with the human realm. Now, the Buddha himself, he knew all about this. How? He was able to enter into all these realms. So religion in general do not go beyond ghosts and spirits or the great deities of polytheism and monotheism. Theistic, meaning the belief in God, and monotheistic is many gods. And gods, in the Buddhist context, is just celestial beings, heavenly beings. They're beings that live in different heavens. So as mentioned earlier, none of them are free from afflictions, right? Even Brahma is not free from affliction. He may not have a sexual desire or any clinging to very coarse material needs. However, it's still the ego self, this ignorance, so-called Sakaya Ditti, the understanding that there is this grasping to the self or I in the mind. He's not free from that. So he's not free from afflictions. He may not have a lot of greed nor hatred, but he still has his ignorance. And then all the beings beyond too. Because they do not transcend the cycle of birth and death. They're not noble. They're not liberated. They're still afflicted beings who can barely save themselves. And they still, once their celestial merits are done with, they will be reborn in the realm that correspond to their karma in the next one. It could be even animal realm. So therefore, it is said that none of them is the object of refuge. And so look at this. Let's look at the complicated one, right? So here, human realm. Human, out of all the realms, the different spheres, it is the best place for attaining Buddhahood, for spiritual practice. Why? I won't tell you now. I will tell you when we explore more about the taking refuge in the Triple Gem, right? And so let's finish this lecture with a transfer of merit. So if today there was any merits accumulated through me, when my intention is share with you what I know and what I think I understand with all of you, if this accumulated any merits, and then you, when you're listening with an open mind and it generated merits. Let's take all this positive energy, this merit, and we send it to all beings throughout the universe and multiverses, and wish that all beings have access to this wonderful Dharma. This is amazing, like information, knowledge that the Buddha Shakyamuni has left us. Okay, so let's transfer a merit together. Okay, read. I wish to eradicate the 3 obstructions and all defilements. I wish to attain wisdom and true understanding. I wish that all calamities and obstacles be universally extinguished. I shall constantly practice the Bodhisattva path, life after life. Namofo. All right. Okay, so time's up, people. Yeah, I hope you thank you very much for participating, and then show yourselves, and then say goodbye. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Sadhu.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.